Here in number 13, there's two ways of doing it, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you both. So we're given these two graphs. They're parabolas, and they're graphed from the xy plane, and they both intersect at points k0 and negative k0. So basically, these are x-intercepts, so they both intersect at the same x-intercepts. We want to know the value of k. So basically, we want to know what the x-intercept is. So we're told that f of x is equal to 8x squared minus 2, and g of x is equal to negative 8x squared plus 2. Okay. So the first way of doing this is that basically we know that these intersect at 2 points, and we know that those 2 points also happen to be these values. So how do we find graph intersections? We just set the two equations equal to each other and solve for x. So that means in this case we have 8x squared minus 2 is equal to negative 8x squared plus 2. So solving for x, let's say we're moving, so let's add 2 on both sides. We get 8x squared is equal to negative 8x squared plus 4. Now let's add 8x squared on both sides to get the x's on one side. So that's 16x squared is equal to 4. Divide both sides by 16 in order to get x by itself. So that leaves us with x squared is equal to 4 over 16, which is equal to 1/4. So x squared is equal to 1/4. And finally, to isolate x, we can just take the square root of both sides. So that means x is equal to, this is very important, when you take the square root of something, you have to do plus or minus. So this is x is equal to plus or minus square root of 1/4. What is the square root of 1/4? It's 1/2, because 1/2 times 1/2 is equal to 1/4. So it's a little bit tricky. I feel like it's kind of tempting on these to say like 1/16 or something, but so just be careful when you take the square root of a fraction like that. It's 1/2. So x is equal to 1 plus or minus 1/2. What does that just give us? Well, we set these equal to each other up here, and we solved for the x values at which they intersect. So we also know that these x values are these intercepts. So if x is plus or minus 1/2, then k is just 1/2, because one x-intercept is 1/2 of 0, the other x-intercept is negative 1/2, 0. So with that, we deduce that k is equal to 1/2, which is answer choice B. Another way you could have done this is you could have taken either equation. Let's just take f of x. So you could have just taken either equation and just set it equal to 0, because you're basically looking for the x-intercepts, right? And the x-intercepts occur when your y is equal to 0. So if you set either one of them, so let's just take this one, 8x squared minus 2 is equal to 0. And then you solve for x, you get 8x squared is equal to 2. Adding x on both sides, we can divide both sides by 8 to isolate our x. So we get x squared is equal to 2 over 8, which is equal to 1/4, so equal to 1/4, and you see you just go through the rest of the process in the exact same way that we did here.